All right, it's time for my favorite video of the month, and that is our monthly market update where we take a look at what is going on in the Ottawa real estate market. So like always, we're going to start off and take a look at November this year versus November last year. The average price was $582,000, down just over 4% from the same time last year. The sold to list ratio was down almost 6% to 97.24. The units sold was down 41.27%. We saw 1,046 homes sell last month, and the days on market is up 45.68% to 32.34 days. And before we break these stats down month by month, let's take a look at the average inventory of how it compares to the same time last year. Total inventory is up almost 119% from the same time last year at 2,933 homes on the market. The months of inventory is up 288, almost 289% from the same time last year. We have about 3.5 months of inventory. And the new listings is up 12% at 1,598. So taking a look at those numbers on their own, that might seem kind of scary as we have total inventory being up over 100% and the months of inventory being up almost 300%. But in fact, we're actually seeing the market start to normalize. The definition of a buyer's market is anything over 6 months, and a stable market being between 5 and 6 months. So the fact that we're still only at 3.5 months of inventory means that we're still technically in a seller's market. Now that might seem kind of crazy with the way things are going, but the fact of the matter is that we still are very low on inventory compared to what a usual market does see. The last 2 years are the outliers, and we're just seeing a return to normalization. Not so much a market crash, but more of an adjustment back to normal. So now let's break it down month by month and see what's really going on. All right, so first let's look at the average sale price of a home. And you'll be able to see that we've been on a wild ride, but we've seen it start to stabilize over the last couple of months. So while this graph does show the huge swings in price, it also shows the return to a bit of normalization. We saw the price go up $141,000 from $575 in January to $716 in March. And we saw almost the same decline of $111,000 between March and July. Whereas since July, we've only seen it decrease $20,000 over those 5 months. So to understand what that small decrease to $20,000 in price means to you as a buyer, while we've seen interest rates come up significantly over that same period of time, I highly recommend watching a video I just shot with Eric and Mark from the Ottawa Mortgage Shop to understand what that really means for you. Yes, the home prices are getting cheaper, but your buying power is decreasing at a much bigger rate. But to understand the market as a whole, let's take a look at the average price since January 2019. So as you can see here, while we have seen home prices decrease dramatically this year, we are kind of sitting around the same prices that we saw in 2021, and we're still at a 58.5% return since January 2019. So even with the most recent decreases, if you were to have bought your home 4 years ago, you're still averaging almost 15% return year over year. So while this is definitely scary for anyone who bought in the last year or two, you can see the majority of people who own a home, so anyone who bought in 2020 or before, still has significant equity in their home. And that's a big thing to consider, again, when you're looking at the foreclosure rate or expecting to see that. A lot of people are able to refinance and stretch out their payments as opposed to go into default. So the sold to ask ratio is going to paint a very similar picture to the average price, where we see it go up significantly earlier this year to come down even more significantly, and then to level out over the last couple of months. Now let's take the data all the way back to 2005 and see how we compare to a normal market. So as you can see, the last couple of years were the major outliers, and where we sit today at 97.24% is actually more where we sit during a normal market. And next we have up is the days on market. So yes, the average days on market has almost tripled from 11.5 at its lowest to 32.3 last month. Again, this is an indication of a more normalized market. People are finally able to shop homes and do their due diligence. So when we look at the average home sale being in 11 days, that's because so many homes were selling in 1 or 2 days without conditions. Now homes might sell in a week, but then have another conditional period of 2 to 3 weeks. And that is where we're seeing the days on market extend. And actually, when we pulled the same data since 2005, you'll see that we're actually much below the average. So the average days on market in 2005 was actually 53 days. And in 2016, it was 81. So you can see that where we sit today at 32 days on market, we're actually much below what we'll usually see in the Ottawa market. One thing that we have to take into consideration though, that we actually had a comment on a previous video, was that we are seeing a lot more cancel and relist than we ever saw in old markets. So the actual days on market is probably somewhere closer to 45 days. Again, that's only a bit more than half of what we saw in 2016. And finally, let's talk about the homes sold. Now this again, as we've seen in previous videos, is where I see the only major differentiator in a stabilized market. We are seeing significantly less homes sell than we have the last few years. Now this one I actually won't pull up the data since 2005 because we do sit somewhere in the middle, but I would say this is the one that doesn't really equate because our population is growing. So I think we should be seeing more homes sell than we did almost 20 years ago. So as you can see, we have sold significantly less homes, about 40% on average every month since April. And that is the main reason that we have seen inventory go up over 100% and the months of inventory on the market go up almost 300%. And as you can see, every year we see December and January be the lowest amount of sales. So we can expect to see a very slow next couple of months as well. So this is the stat that has obviously caused inventory to go up so much over the last year. But we have to remember that we are in such a shortage before that it is just allowing us to normalize a little bit. But it's definitely the stat that I'm watching the closest to see where the market is going. If we do continue to see the same amount of new listings every week as we're seeing the last couple of years, which we currently are, but sales down 40% over the next few months, which we currently have, then we can reasonably predict that we are still going to see home prices on the decline. This is the number that I'm going to follow the most on when we start to see the market pick up. When we start to see more sales happening and inventory decreasing, you can expect that prices will start coming up again. The housing market is like any other market that runs on supply and demand. And with such a short supply, demand far exceeded it, causing home prices to go where we never expected them to. Now we're seeing demand is going down as interest rates rise and as the home prices have been the way they are. But at a certain point, we will start to see demand meet supply again and start to normalize, which is, again, what we have started to see so far in this market. I hope you guys found this video helpful. Like always, any questions you guys want to know about the market, please let me know. I'd love to help answer those questions for you. Thanks again for watching, and I'll see you soon.